My greetings. I know by now you're familiar with my name, and I remain your brother Zachariah Steele. I keep finding out that the truth is expensive. Those who dare to live it out can lose even their lives, let alone friendships, material things, and anything, including jobs and so on and so forth like that. I want to tell us that even at our levels, and we don't include the truth that is above all our truths. If you tell me that I have lied simply by calling what is white black, because of the interest that I had when I called it black against its being white, can make me not only to hate you, but to go ahead to torture you until you get to a point of non-existence. We see this every day. How much more when we decide to allow the truth to speak to our truth or through our truth to the whole world? That is why there is torture. That is why there is persecution. That is why there is enslavement. That is why there is death, even in some places. Especially when you profess that you are close to the truth, they get rid of you immediately. We cannot tell the number of people that have been killed simply because they decided to tell the truth against all odds and knowns and whatever. And some are currently languishing in prisons and other consignments. I mean, consignments, places that are too difficult to exist. In fact, some have been dropped into asylums that they cannot even be normal again if ever they will survive. But you know what? As long as we remain in our own truth, it might cost us, but it will even cost us more if we get ourselves hidden in the truth. What I'm trying to share with us here on the screen is a reality. How do we really get connected to the truth? It is not because I am sharing with you about the truth, then I am in the truth. That is not the evidence. It is not because I've written about the truth, then automatically I know the truth or I'm living by the truth. No, there are millions of books that are currently printed and shared all throughout the world about truth. There's no doubt about that one. And of course, there are so many people that have read the scriptures and they've come across so many places where the truth is mentioned, but they still remain liars. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's not even in songs that when we sing about the truth, then we begin to live truthfully. And it is not in teachings that when we teach about the truth, then we begin to live truthfully. No, truth is your own personal decision. And you know what? It is a personal choice that must be hooked to the spirit of the truth itself. And as I have said in other episodes, you can never align with the truth until you have repented from your own dependence, from your dependence on your own truth. You can never align with the truth and be in the truth until you have confessed. While you were in your truth, you harmed others. Some are dead, some are alive, some are completely out of reach. But then some are around, some you can reach them. You need to confess. and good enough, confession is both towards the Almighty and towards the people that you live with and you've offended them. It is a requirement that you confess to them. And when you have done that, that is when you will now know what regeneration is, or being born again. You will now know what that is. And this is the act of the Spirit. It is not your own spirit. So anybody who boasts that I am regenerated and has not repented and has not confessed, obviously the person is on his own or on her own. And that is why I am sharing Romans chapter 8 from verse 12 with you. So then, brethren, we are under obligation, not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. For if you are living according to the flesh, you must die. But if by the Spirit you are putting to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For all who are being led by the Spirit of the Almighty, these are children of Yahweh. For you have not received a spirit of slavery, leading to fear again, but you have received a spirit of adoption as sons or children, by which we cry out, Abba, Father. That is, you are our source of living. The Spirit itself testifies with our spirit that we are children of Yahweh. And if children, heirs also, heirs of Yahweh and fellow heirs with Yeshua, if indeed we suffer with him, so that we may also be exalted or venerated with him. Now listen to what I have just tried to read. It is the Spirit of the Almighty convicting our own spirits that we are children of Yahweh. It is not something that is our own. The conviction does not come from our own spirit. It is the Spirit of the Almighty working in us. And this can never be our experience until we have repented 180-degree turn, and we have confessed, and it must be sincere out of the heart. We've confessed. Then the Spirit of the Almighty, the Spirit of Yeshua, will take over from there, and we can forge on from there as regenerated people or being born again, and as justified people, because the Lord of our crimes, the Lord of our wickedness, when we didn't repent, still would hunt after us. Then we need the Spirit to take care of that. And that is why the Almighty has made a provision all for justification. So we can now focus properly on the rest that we have chosen. This is the act of the Spirit. Now, I have this story which I remember I've shared with us before. And that spirit, that is found in the book of 1 Kings chapter 22. As I was trying to say, the truth is costly. It is not a cheap thing that you easily go and become it. You must be ready to pay the price. Sometimes it can be supreme. 1 Kings chapter 22, which I've just said, I've shared it before, still rings. I will want to just go through this one, gently reading it as best as I can, then you pick the message. From verse 5, moreover, Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, please inquire first for the word of Yahweh. Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together. He gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said to them, shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I refrain? And they all said, go up, for Yahweh will give it into your hand, or into the hand of the king. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not yet a prophet of Yahweh here, that we may inquire of him? Think about it. Why do you think Jehoshaphat had to ask for another prophet? Why was he not convinced? Do we understand what it means for 400 men, prophet, to speak the same thing? You know what? We are judged by our personalities. Jehoshaphat has known the status of Ahab. He has known how Ahab surrounds himself with, or surrounds himself with the wrong way of worship. And therefore, he was careful. It is just about the same thing when we are surrounded, or when we've allowed indoctrination to engulf us. It is always difficult to hear another voice, even when it is a voice of reasoning. Jehoshaphat sensed that, and permit me to say that Jehoshaphat had the spirit of discernment, and he quickly realized that I will not go the way King Ahab was going, because my spirit is telling me that of these 400 prophets, no one was speaking the truth. And therefore, he had to demand for another prophet, if that existed. Then what did we hear? The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man by whom he may inquire of the Lord, but I hate him. By whom we may inquire of the Lord, Yahweh, but I hate him, because he does not prophesy good concerning me. Good in the eyes of Ahab is lie. And Jehoshaphat would not want to tolerate that. But evil, his name is Micaiah, son of Imlah. But Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so. Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, bring quickly Micaiah, son of Imlah. So now the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, were sitting each on his throne, arrayed in their robes, at the threshing floor at the entrance of the gate of Samaria. And all the prophets were prophesying before them. Then Zedekiah the chief, the son of Chenanah, made horns of iron for himself and said, thus says Yahweh, with this you will goad the Arameans until they are consumed. All the prophets were prophesying thus, repeating after what Zedekiah has said. Go to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for Yahweh will give it into your hand. Into the hand of the king. But think about it, as we always say, as we continue. Then the messenger who went to summon Micaiah spoke to him, saying, behold, all the words of the prophets are uniformly favorable to the king. Please let your word be like the word of one of them, and speak favorably. But Micaiah said, as Yahweh lives, what Yahweh says to me, that I shall speak. When he came to the king said to him, Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we refrain? And he answered him, go up and succeed, and Yahweh will give it into your hand, into the hand of the king. Look at what happened next in verse 16. Then the king said to him, how many times must I adjure you to speak to me nothing but the truth in the name of Yahweh? So he said, I saw Israel scattered on the mountains like sheep which have no shepherd. And Yahweh said, These have no master. Let each of them return to his house in peace. Then the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, did I not tell you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil? Micaiah said, therefore hear the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting in his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right and on his left. Then Yahweh said, who will entice Ahab to go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said this, while another said that. That is not the end of the story. You can just hear what we are talking about. Then what happened? Then a spirit came forward and stood before Yahweh and said, I will entice him. Yahweh said to him, how? And Yahweh said, and his spirit said, I will go out and be a deceiving spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. Then he said, you are to entice him and also prevail. Go and do so. Now, therefore, behold, Yahweh has put a deceiving spirit in the mouth of all these your prophets, and Yahweh has proclaimed disaster against you. Then Zedekiah the son of Chenanah came near and struck Micaiah on the cheek and said, how did the spirit of Yahweh pass from me to speak to you? Micaiah said, behold, you shall see on that day when you enter an inner room to hide yourself. Then the king of Israel said, take Micaiah and return him to Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash the king's son, and say, thus says the king, put this man in prison and feed him sparingly with bread and water until I return safely. Micaiah said, if you indeed return safely, Yahweh has not spoken by me. And he said, listen, all you people. Now, I don't need to paraphrase this so much, but I know that I've read it deliberately. You can go back and read 1 Kings chapter 22 for yourself and probably get a better understanding. But you can now see, whenever you stand for the truth, you don't escape the anger of people. When you even speak the truth about yourself, you don't escape your own anger, let alone when somebody speaks the truth about you. And how much more when this person speaks the truth to you so that you can even take decision. So you can now find out that even the truth at the mundane level is costly. The conversation has nothing to do with the kingdom. It has to do with just Ramoth Gilead. And the fight will be over. And if Ramoth Gilead is to be taken over by Ahab, all right. Otherwise, fine. So it was a mundane fight. It has nothing to do with eternity. And yet, you could see the number of prophets, 400 of them, that could declare deceitfully to this man, because that was what he was looking for, just as I have seen in many so-called pastors, so-called ministers, so-called what, so-called this and that in the religious circle, who are only men's followers, men's pleasers, who only follow others at the expense of what they should know that will help them. They just simply follow other people, and they keep going and they keep going and they keep going, not minding if they will perish. May I say, based on how I'm understanding this, that for every truthful person, there are 400 liars. And that is why usually the voice of the truth bearer stands out clearly. And if you are a truth bearer, wherever you are, you will always turn out to be different. There might be 400 deceivers around you, but you know what? You will stand out to be different. And this is what we are. This is the situation. So you can imagine, you can do the calculation. And how many people have not been purchased by the truth of others? Whether it is in the church or in the mosque or wherever you go, wherever people are gathered, whether it is at the United Nations, people have been swallowed by the truths of others, and therefore they are no longer their own, even when they appear to be independent. They are slaves of these particular people whose truth now controls them. They are not themselves. And this is what we're saying. But you can see, despite the persecution before Micaiah, he insisted, if you will go and you come back safely, then it is not Yahweh that has spoken through me. You know what? There's nothing that will swallow the truth, even in death. Even if we're killed, go ahead and tell people the truth. Come out from the truths of others that manipulate you, that control you. Stand on your own truth. Link with the truth, and you will see the difference. And I've told you, it is not how much we teach or we share or we sing or we dance about it. Most of us have not experienced the voice of the truth. Most of us, that liberates us, that sets us free. And we can never be free until we understand exactly how our own truths are and the need for this particular truth. And the need will propel us to do what? To repent, confess, and be regenerated. And from there we proceed. Because after regeneration is justification. After justification is sanctification. And after sanctification, if we continue in the rest, then it's veneration. What some people might call glorification. So let us take some time to think about this. I therefore want to wrap it up with this as I move on. And what is that one? It is mine. Our truths or dogmas, or even our sacred religious and so-called ministries, ministry activities and some traditions are usually designed to support or defend our comfort zones, where pride is piously redefined against the truth. I assure that most of the essentials in our delights will give way if the truth is permitted to take over. You know what we're lacking in whatever we're doing? We don't have the truth. We appear to have the truth, but we don't have the truth. Let us give room to the truth. And you see how our own truth will melt down, or even the truths of others that they thought they are our godfathers, godmothers, God everything, Godsons, God this and that and that. You will see how all these truths will melt down until we see who we are by the truth that we are defined with. Then can we go for the truth? Think about this. I'll stop sharing. Do have a great day. Subscribe. Thank you.